Hi, welcome to Effort Advocacy Media. You're watching the Journey Series video podcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark, co-host of Journeys. I'm a brown man with a black and white beard, black glasses, brown eyes, reddish shirt, and I'm in front of a painting and a shelf with knickknacks.
And I'm Crystal. I'm the other co-host, and I'm a white woman with a black shirt. I don't know what would you call this kind of shirt. I don't know, but anyway, I have brown hair. I have brown eyes and a brown background with a lamp on the table.
Today we're with our guest is from California, and she has a tap dance program for people with disabilities. And she's going to tell us more about that. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, so great to be here. I'm Victoria Moore. Actually, Victoria Moore Turner. I got married a year ago, so I added another extra name.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Hard to believe. Time flies. It's been a year. But I'm a white woman, long blonde hair, got a bright pink shirt on today, short sleeves, and in the background I've got a mirror and TV. It's a bedroom, basically. Dresser behind me.
Yeah.
And, that's it. I have brown eyes, and that's about me in a nutshell there, physically anyway. A lot more underneath that.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, it's a journey that I never, like, if 10 years ago, if you'd said I would be doing what I'm doing, teaching master tap classes to dancers with disability, seniors, I would, with my hands and my feet sitting down, I would have said, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. How does that work? Exactly. I'm not sure. So the journey has been, it's a long one. And I started out just like your typical little dancer who had a mother who was a master tap dancer. So kind of really didn't have a choice. It was like tap dances coursing through my veins. And she was going to keep going until she had a daughter who could dance. So she got me. And I just took all the different kinds of classes. And along the way, like when I was a teenager, the first thing that shifted for me to what I thought was my purpose, which truly down the line didn't end up being my purpose, was my mom took me to my first Broadway musical that came through Chicago. And it was Chorus Line. And I saw that and I went, that's what I want to do. I want to get on that stage. I want to be on Broadway. That's where I'm headed. So I studied acting and dancing and singing, all the best studios, had scholarships everywhere. Went to New York for college at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And then, bam, I went to an audition in New York and got what I thought my purpose was, my dream. I got my first Broadway show. Got 20 years old. Hardest audition I've ever had in my entire life. But I did it. I got on tour. And then when that closed, I went back to New York and got my second Broadway show. And they wanted me it was 42nd Street, the second one. And they wanted me for the LA company to open it at Schubert Theater. And I thought to myself, ooh, Chicago and New York and know nothing but freezing cold winters. LA, palm trees, sunshine, ticket please, I'm ready to go. Like now. I couldn't wait. And I kind of never left. So that was like 1984. And I toured as a dancer, professional, all over the country. I think we did 88 cities in 1 year. That was a lot of traveling and dancing. We went to Japan, we went all over Canada. And I mention all this because over this whole course of my career and growing up, never, ever was it a thought process to me about dance and disability. And were there dancers with disabilities? It's like that representation thing. If you don't see it, you don't even think about it or know it exists, right? There has to be some
Right.
sort of representation. Never did I come across that anywhere. And then I went into, after, the Broadway show stuff passed and I got married and had my child, I went back to teaching tap and master classes. And I got into teaching for dance conventions all over the country and judging for dance competitions. And there again, in the over 10 years that I did that, never saw dancers with disabilities. And, conventions have hundreds and hundreds of people at them. None of them were disabled. None of them. So I didn't even think about it. It didn't enter my brain, my scope of thinking at all. And then my mother and I, around 2016-ish, started a book that we were going to get her methodology of teaching tap out there for other dance educators. And so we started on that, and we were working hard on that. And then in 2017, that's when everything changed. Everything. My whole path, my journey, my purpose in one night changed, literally overnight. I went to see a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, perform in a dance concert. And it was an unusual dance concert in that if you wanted to be in the show, you auditioned, and didn't matter what your ability was, they would find a place for you, a choreographer and a piece of choreography for you to perform, which was awesome. It wasn't like who's the best dancer. It was just like everybody can dance. And it was a great, wonderful celebration. And in this performance, there was a 20-something-year-old beautiful dancer with cerebral palsy. And she did two numbers. She did one that was more lyrical and one that was more contemporary. And one she performed in her chair, and the other she did on her hand crutches. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, because I'm doing a lot of judging at dance competitions, and a lot of times the critique that the dancers would hear me say would be, you have to, if it's a lyrical, contemporary, jazz, ballet, whatever it is, you have to connect. There's a story there, and you have to connect as a dancer, as an artist, to that story, right? So the dancing has to come from internally and then externally through the choreography. And if you don't do that as an artist, there's a huge disconnect between the audience and the dancer. You have to take whatever that story is. It's your job as the dancer and the artist to take us as an audience member on that journey, whatever it is. It's like 2 to 3 minutes. We need to be invested in what you're doing.
Right.
And that's exactly what she did. And to the point where I absolutely forgot about her chair. I forgot about her crutches. It was this dancer. She was taking me on this journey, and I was going with her, and I didn't want it to end. It was like, don't stop. Don't let this, just keep going. This is so beautiful. And it blew my mind, truly, because I had never actually seen this kind of performance, seen the ability of somebody with a disability dancing a beautiful piece of choreography. I'd never seen that before. And it just threw me for a loop. And then my whole world, like everything just blossomed like a flower. Like my brain opened up. Like, why have I never seen this before? Because it's not out there, because dance is very exclusive, or has been. It's getting better. We're getting there. But typically it's been a very exclusive thing. And so this theater was like a 40-minute drive for me to get home. So on the 40 minutes, my brain starts spinning and spinning. And I'm thinking about that beautiful dancer, thinking the dance form I have poured my heart and soul into, honing my craft and teaching others how to explore and examine tap and rhythms and all that. I said, she's never going to do it. She's never going to experience it. She can stand, but with the aid of crutches, but she doesn't have the capability of stability and shifting the weights and all that. to be able to truly tap dance. And then I was like, okay, then that thought rolled into another thought, and it just kind of, over that 40-minute drive, everything opened up to me. Like, okay, so what's the problem? The problem is she can't stand. Okay, well, if she doesn't have to stand. Okay, she doesn't really have full use of her legs. So chair tap dancing with her lower limbs, that's not accessible. So, okay, her hands work fine. They were working fine. So what if we took taps off the shoes, put them on some sort of glove of some sort, and brought the floor up to her lap or on a table, that she could start creating rhythms with her hands, because tap dancers are percussionists, right? We're drummers, but with our feet. Well, what if we just bring it back up to the hands? And now we're back to the original way it was done, like a drummer. And I just thought, okay, if we do this, then we can do that. If we do that, she can tap dance. She can dance. If she wants it, she can. And then it started me thinking, why have I not seen dancers with disabilities? And then I thought, of course you have. Of course you have. Remember, his name is Clayton Bates, or he's known as Peg Leg Bates. We're talking about the 1920s. So there has been tap dance and disability. And I went, of course. So I don't know, probably most of people listening to this don't know who Peg Leg Bates is, or was. I think he died in like 1998, I believe. Well, he was an African-American that was a tap dancer, and he was around 11 or 12 when this happened. His mom didn't want him picking cotton in the cotton field because it's back-breaking, laborious work. So she put him in the cotton mill. And he was too young. He was 11 or 12. He was really too young to be working in the mill, but it was better than the cotton field. So Clayton was working in the cotton mill, and he had the job of pushing the cotton down climbing up to the top, pushing the cotton down into whatever you call it, the conveyor belt or whatever. Well, on the second day, he fell in, and he ended up losing a leg, and he damaged a few fingers. And at that time, because we're talking 1920, he couldn't, because he was an African-American man, he couldn't be taken to a white hospital. So he just had it amputated right there at home. And he never thought of it, though, as a horrible, horrible curse or a horrible accident, because his uncle fashioned a peg. It's kind of like almost like a broom handle almost, that he used for the apparatus for him to walk, because it was just one leg that was damaged. And he thought it was great. He thought it was great because at that time, you needed, as a hoofer, and a hoofer, by the way, is a tap dancer that has exceptionally fast tap work. So as a hoofer, he thought it was great because within 2 years of the accident, he was dancing, hopping, jumping, leaping with that peg leg, and he got known as Peg Leg. And he was dancing up a storm, and it set him apart from every other hoofer. You had to have, for a better word, like a gimmick, back then, to set yourself apart. Well, that was his thing. Nobody else was like him at all. And he took it, and he became so famous. He was on the Ed Sullivan show like 22 times. He was that good. In fact, if all your listeners are listening, go to YouTube, search Peg Leg Bates. You're going to see tons of videos and see how remarkable he danced with one leg. So that came into my brain, like, yes, it's been around forever. And then I thought of 1959 when Gene Kelly had his own TV special. He had Donald O'Connor on one time, and they did this shtick, like, they're old, they're tired, they don't want to get up and dance anymore. So they did this phenomenal tap dance sitting in chairs. You can find that on YouTube too. Yeah, Gene Kelly chair dance. And I thought, okay, well, this can be done. It has been done. And I started to create what I call Tap for All, meaning tap is for everyone. And I started creating the tap gloves. And I morphed that book my mom and I were working on into something completely different to educate other dance instructors how to work with dancers with disabilities, whether it's cerebral palsy or you're working with seniors with dementia, Alzheimer's. And I did the research that went into this book to find that tap dancing is hugely cognitively beneficial. It can actually, it's been studied since like the early 2000s that tap can actually help slow down dementia and Alzheimer's. And it can help stroke survivors recover. And it's an amazing dance form because you have to learn. You're not only having to dance, but you have the technical aspect of it because you have to create these rhythms. And by doing that, you're creating these new neural pathways. So anybody with cerebral palsy or all of that, it's so beneficial. But then, of course, COVID hit. I didn't have anywhere to teach and everything was shut down. And I had just lost my mother the year before. And I shut down before COVID shut down. But COVID was a blessing in disguise. It kicked me in the rear and just said, what are you going to do? Just sit around moping and dust that book off, finish it, find a publisher, and start making those tap gloves so that when we get on the other side of this COVID thing, which we will eventually, and I thought it's going to happen. I'm going to have the gloves. I'm going to have my program, Tap for All, and I'm going to start going to assisted living centers and sharing it with them, sharing it with the disability community. And that's exactly what I did. And instead of going back to teaching at dance conventions, because that March 13th was the last dance convention I ever did in 2020, and everything shut down, I never went back because I realized that this is my true purpose. I've done all that. I'm going to leave that to the younger group. And this is what's needed. Seniors who used to dance, never thought they could dance again, are dancing and they're thrilled. And the disability community, I presented my Tap for All program last March at the Abilities Expo at the Los Angeles Convention Center. And I had a half an hour to pack it all in. And I was like, y'all thought you never met in your wildest dreams imagines that when you came into the Abilities Expo, you were going to be leaving a tap dancer. But that's what happened. I got them the tap gloves, which are these little guys here. And you slip them on. And these are real taps from real tap shoes. And you can make all kinds of noises. And I had visually impaired people there. I had people that were in accidents. I had all kinds of kids and adults and younger kids there. And they found that this whole world of tap dancing and dance is opening up for them and they can have it. And if they want it. And, Gregory Hines was quoted as saying, if you want tap dance wants you. Well, it's really true now because you can have it. You don't have to tap dance with just your feet. You can do one, both, the other. What I created Tap for All was for complete inclusivity and complete accessibility. Is it great fun to work with the tap gloves and these tap boards that I created? Sure, huge fun. But do you have to have them? No, not at all. If you have your hands, you have a lap, a table, you can tap dance. If you don't have hands, you have elbows, you can do that. Whatever your accessibility is, we'll figure it out. That's the point of it, is to give those that want to experience, try it out, the opportunity. And so that's what my mission is, to bridge that gap with inclusivity between the disability community and the non-disability community, dance community, especially because that's my thing, dance. And it's a work in progress. I'm only one person, so I'm trying to get more of me out there by educating more dance instructors on how to work with dancers that have disabilities. And then the other part of it is the dance studios, to get them to open their doors. And I've spoken to a bunch of dance studios to find out what is the sticking point? What is the holdup? And it's mostly fear and lack of knowledge on how to work with somebody with a disability that comes in. And so I'm like, okay, we can work with that. You know, those are the two sticking points. Let's figure it out. Everything is figure outable in my book, you know, take the problem and find the solution. We can do it together.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying about, of course, COVID was a really stressful, weird time for everybody. But if anything, it brought out our creativity and our need to build or invent or make something better or build those connections to meet people, to give your ideas to share your, how you do something in, how you would make it work for your disability.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just, I wrote about all of the different types of disabilities, not all of them, but a good majority of them in the book. And it's to see it in right in front of my face actually work. That just, for me, it's just takes it to a whole nother level. It's like, okay, I knew the studies, said this, and this, but to actually see it in front of me and witness it is phenomenal. And working with visually impaired, tap dancing, visually impaired, they're amazing. They're so amazing. They're so fine-tuned with their hearing that I can literally show them one time how to do, say, like a shuffle, and they hear the rhythm, they got it. It's just amazing. Even at that expo with that teeny little chunk of time I had a young man over there. I just looked over the corner. I was like, you go. Yes. You're just listening to my cues. I didn't even help him. He was listening to my verbal cues and hearing the taps, and he put the two together and he was spot on. It's brilliant. It just blew my mind. So it's been a journey, and I've been following the breadcrumbs and I'm listening to where they're leading me. And they have definitely been leading me to help open the door to dance for the disability community and the senior population, because those two have been, for the most part, a lot of times left out. It's getting better, but got a long way to go.
We talked to a lot of guests that are, writing books or, doing screenplays or writing, doing movies even,
Right.
And in the same respect, with those, disability has been pushed down and hidden. And like you said, that guy in the 20s was his name?
Well, his real name was Clayton Bates, but his nickname was named Pegleg Bates.
Okay. Yeah, people don't know about him. There's like a lot of painters and a lot of course, a lot of actors and dancers, even, that are just, you would never know. It was just hidden. And that's because it wasn't acceptable or it wasn't cool to have this or that. So it wasn't talked about, or they didn't disclose it,
Right.
So you're right, though, in a lot of areas, it's getting better, where we're more accepted for who we are, and people are not trying to fix us. We're not broken.
Exactly.
We are who we are, and we have to be able to use those, show those gifts, and people need to see those gifts and be able to make them work with, with what we can do.
Absolutely. That's what I tell dance studios and dance studio owners. It's like when you have somebody, well, first of all, they'll say like, well, how do we know that they'll even want to come? I'm like, it's that whole field of dreams. You build it, they will come. If they know that you have built a welcoming, accepting, accessible space, they will come and they'll tell their friends. But when they get into class, Don't dumb it down. Give them the choreography as you created it, and they will figure out how to transpose that choreography, if they can transpose that choreography with what they have access to. And let them go from there and let them express, because dance is all about expressiveness and expressing through movement what you verbally can't. And it's so therapeutic for everybody. Everybody. I think everybody should dance at least a little bit, even if it's in your kitchen with some music. The freedom of movement, the freedom of expression is so beneficial and so good for the body, the mind, the soul, that it shouldn't be excluded for anybody. It shouldn't be that, nope, sorry, you can't try that. Of course you can. You just have to get the fear out of the way. And you have to, and the other thing the dance studios would say to me is like, well, what if they get hurt? I'm like, and I said, well, do you have, when you sign up a new student, you have a waiver that you sign for non-disabled dancers that if you get hurt, you're not going to sue the studio. Well, it's the same thing. Dancers get hurt all the time, all the time. I can attest to it.
It's kind of like they use that though as a way to say this is another justification of why we don't need to, include them.
Exactly.
But in reality, it's them saying they're not really human. We don't have to treat them the same way. We don't have to give them the same form. Oh my goodness.
I know. This is what I'm trying to little by little change and help them to understand, because that's just the mindset that they've had forever, and ever. And then it's
yeah, totally. It's a generational, that's just the way they were taught. And, but it's our responsibility, to explain and help them understand who we really are.
Exactly. And, I had one say, well, what if I have somebody with a visual impairment come in that wants to dance? I'm like, great. Well, you just need to take a little extra time and show them the dance studio they're going to be in and where the obstacles are. This is where the music is. This is where the bars are. This is where the door is. They learn very, very quickly. And once they're familiar with their surroundings, it's all just create from there and explore and show your artistic side and feel the music. And it can be done. The point is, it can be done. And rather than building up excuse, there's answer. You just have to go for it. And it just takes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
During the pre-interview, we talked a bit about this. Maybe you can elaborate. A lot of, I guess, if we're talking about dance, a lot of the world sees, dance as something done by someone with two legs and who can move a certain way and whatever. And what we talked about is dance not being so much about the physical ability or the physical act of dancing as about what's inside and the deeper things that are. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, tap dance has always been the happy dance, right? It's the happy dance form. Whereas, lyrical and contemporary are more emotional and can be dark and all that. But even tap has an emotionality to it, because how every part of that tap, like every part of this tap, depending on where you hit it, sounds different. You'll get a softer sound here as opposed to the flat head of this tap. And it's communicating with those taps. And you might get a piece of music, or it may be a cappella, you might not have any music at all, but you're conveying a story through either your feet or your hands or whatever it is you're using. And the dynamics of those taps are what is conveying the story. It could be like more rhythmic, where it's just pounding into the ground and or you're bored and chewing it up and spitting it out kind of a thing, or it could be light and effortless. You know, think Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, just light and effortless. And you could switch back and forth. And that's where you create dynamic and shaping and all of that. So even though tap is a happy dance form, it definitely can communicate a lot of different emotions and stories, and the pace and the rhythm and the holds. It's all communication. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a lyrical piece, a jazz piece, a hip hop piece. It's all a story that's coming from here, from your soul. And you're giving that audience a piece of you, a little piece of you. You are communicating a piece of yourself that without words. And you're interpreting whatever that story is through your heart, your soul, and what it means to you. And that's the beauty that everyone should be able to experience, because it is communication without words.
Right.
And for those who have trouble with speaking, oh my gosh, like how vitally, beautifully important would that be?
Exactly. I feel like we're all here for a purpose. And I heartily believe that. And I feel like if other people are holding you down from doing the purpose that you were put here for,
Mm-hmm.
are putting obstacles in your way to prevent them from happening, you know, that is a sad story. And I don't know, you know, there definitely has to be some accountability for that, you know.
I agree. I agree.
But at the same time, you don't want to point fingers.
No, you want to help educate, and we all want to do better. And if the mindset has been for so long, like this, like in my day, being a non-disabled dancer, I'm 5'10", very tall when I was growing up dancing in, you know, the 60s and 70s to be a dancer, very tall. And I was doing all dance forms. And the one dance form I didn't have was point work, you know, like a ballerina, like Misty Copeland. And I was at a ballet studio where I was on scholarship and could take any class I wanted. And I knew I wasn't going to be a prima ballerina. Prima ballerinas were 5'3", 5'4", maybe on a good day. But it was a knowledge base that I needed to learn. Maybe someday I would have use for it. So because I walked into this class, now imagine if I'm 5'10", on point, I'm 6'5". There's not a male dancer on the planet that's going to partner me, right? But I was bullied. I was ridiculed. I was made fun of. Like, what am I doing in class? You're not a ballet. You're not a ballerina. You don't look like a ballerina. You're a stork. You're like a giant. You don't belong here. And, you know, I thought about that when I had my epiphany with the dance and disability. I went, wow, on a teeny tiny level, this is just like scratching the surface of what the disability community in dance has had to deal with. The shaming and the bullying and like, you don't belong here, all of that. And I just went, wow, okay. It's not on that level at all, but I get it. And so that needs to change. And then I also thought about, because I was in this space for so long, the dance competition world, where there are some competitions that are for the disability community, but it's a tiny fraction compared to what's out there for the non-disabled community. I mean, a fraction. I mean, how amazing would that be to be able, because it's not about winning trophies. For me as a judge, I always instilled in the dancers that this is not about the shiny trophy or the ribbon or the first place. This is a learning experience for you to be brave enough and confident enough to get up on that stage in front of however many people are out there, hundreds of people, and perform. And mistakes are going to happen your tap shoe is going to fall off. Your hair ribbon is going to fall out. You're going to slip and fall, whatever it is. But it's how you recover. That's the learning piece. Mistakes, it's live theater. Mistakes happen every single time there's a performance. But it's how do you recover? And that's the learning experience to gain, not the shiny ribbon, what place you came in. And the disability community deserves to have that experience too, you know, to get up there and have confidence, because it translates into everyday life. Your confidence to get up on that stage and do a number, guess what? That's going to help you in life. You'll have confidence to do other things that may have been a little, you know, scarier or fear-based for you. So little by little, hopefully we can start shifting. It's going to take time.
Yes.
And I'm only one person, and I'm hoping to get more on board. But one person, you know, and that's what I want everybody to know. One person can make a difference in small little ways, and those small little ways can add up in the long run. And eventually we can start shifting the perspective of what dance is, what a dancer looks like, what it means to be a dancer, and just all of that. Just start shifting that perspective. So it's an important mission for me. And I know now that is what all of this previous journey led me to end up at, and do what I can while I'm still here as much as I can.
Thank you for what you're doing. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
It feeds my soul. I mean, when I got a class later at a new place out in Ventura, I can't wait to get in there and show them that, yes, you can still tap dance. You can. And it's just amazing that there is a certain part of the brain that music resides in that gets affected by Alzheimer's and dementia at the very end. Like, it's the last thing to go. So that's why when you play a piece of music, you know the lyrics like that, bam, because your memory for music is amazing. And so I taught one memory care place. It was my first day there. And I did what I normally do. I asked, has anybody ever tap danced before in their younger years? And I got nothing. It was just silence. And then I got into the first bit, and I said, okay, now we're going to do a shuffle. I didn't say or show what a shuffle was. And all of a sudden, out of the corner, I hear, bottom. And I said, wait a minute. You must have had tap before, because I didn't even show you what a shuffle was. And you just went, da-dum. And she just looked at me. She had no recollection of ever taking a tap class in her life. But the memory of that, how to do a shuffle and what a shuffle was still there, which was amazing to me, that the memory and the brain is that complex. So it's just little moments like that just, that I can give them back something that they thought they'd never in their life ever do again. And at the Expo, I had a young girl who, not young, she's not that young. She looks younger than she is. She was like 27. That she was in a car accident when she was about 16, lost the use of her legs, was a dancer prior to the accident. Got it, just happened to come at that little half-hour window that I was there doing the tap for all. And she was there with her mom, and she went crazy over that. She was in tears because she never thought she would be given that gift of being able to tap dance again ever in her life. She's only 27. I mean, it's wow, just take something that was that hugely impactful out of her life and just say, nope, you'll never do that again. Nope, that's off the table. Sorry, can't do it. That's so unfair. And we've kept in contact. I actually gifted her a pair of my purple gloves because we connected on such a high level. And so it's special moments like that it's like, okay, that's why I'm doing this. There's another reason.
I can definitely relate to that. I had mine, it was, I guess, 24 years ago now. And the very first thing that stayed with me was music.
Right?
It was so easy to get to remember stuff. And even though I could speak, I couldn't talk at that point,
Mhm.
but I had to relearn everything. But the music was still, of course, in my head. And still, and that's how I learned to talk. They combine speech therapy and music therapy.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have a chapter in my course, the Tap for All course and certification, that is titled The Power of Music, because it is powerful on so many levels.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's a gift. And I'm so happy to be able to shift this and help teach others how to do this and give,
Me too.
yeah, I'm so happy about it. And it feeds my soul. It's what I know I was put on this planet to do. I got to do all the fun stuff, performing the Broadway shows. I got my time in the sunshine, but now it's time to give back.
Yep.
And help two communities that haven't had the access to it. So, yay. It's fun.
That's great to hear. So, Victoria, tell us how, break down for us how it works, how how the TAP for All program works. And how people
there's a couple of levels with it. Now, if you're a dance educator, I've got a course that has been launched. It's not on my website yet, but my website guy's been very busy. But that's going to be on there soon for dance educators to learn how to do this program and how to go into assisted living centers and wherever the disability community is, and dance studios and all of that. And then for those that just want to take a class, because like I said, I created this going into the Expo last March, realizing that if I had people that said, oh, wow, this is great, where can I have a full class instead of this little teaser half hour that you explained what it was? Like, I'm going to say, nowhere? No, I can't say that. That's terrible. Like, oh, here's something that you can do, but it's not available to you. That's kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, what can I do? Well, I just started making 35, 45 minute online classes, like a subscription membership kind of a thing. And if anybody wants to just try out a little free mini class, they just have to go to my website and just go under online courses, and it's right there. It's free online class. You can do a month, you can do a subscription. So you can find and try out a little class, and don't worry about the gloves and the boards. If you want them, that's great, but you don't have to have them. Like I said earlier, you just have table, hands, elbows, whatever you got. Chin. Like I said, it's all accessible, all inclusive. So you can try it out. It's like 14 minutes, little mini class. And if you like it, you want more, it's going to be there. And every month I'm going to add more classes. So right now there's 2 classes in there. They're all beginning levels. It's fun music, just beginner tap. So you can get started. And that way, if you get in there, you can stop it. You can, go back, you can go forth. Oh, I didn't quite get that. Let me go back again, kind of a thing. So it's accessible. So you can have fun and tap dance to some fun music. And then, and then if you want the boards, I am working like crazy right now, like nonstop, trying to crank out these tap gloves. I am hand making them myself. It's a lot of work, can I just say. It's a heck of a lot of work. I mean, like I said, these are, again, the nice thing about these is, if you want them, they're fun to work with. But the nice thing is, to wash them, it's just Velcro. So you're not going to destroy your washing machine putting a bag of hammers in there, So, and it's 4 sizes. I'm cranking them out as fast as I can. We're going to pre-order them, and because they don't exist. I mean, can you just take a glove and see there's these holes in the taps could you just sew them to a glove? Sure. And you just go online, buy some taps. You can do that too. There's options, and you can take it to whatever level you want. No gloves, your own gloves, these gloves. You could use a cutting board. You could use just a table. Just don't mark up your table because these things will ruin the table. And just the key point is just to start making rhythms and have fun. So there's the online classes, and I'm going to be for studios. I'm going to be going in studio by studio and helping them figure this out. And then I'm going to document it and then, get it out there for more studio owners to go, oh, okay, that's not so hard. I can do that. Change the signage, font, height, ramp, it's not rocket science. It can happen. So, but my website is a place to find everything, which is just victoriamortap.com. Okay. And my book's on there. The gloves will be on there. It says coming soon right now, and then the online tap classes are on there. So if anybody wants to check them out, just go there and check them out. And then if you got questions, you can just email me, info@victoriamortap.com. It's all on the website.
There's so much there. I guess that can be applied to lots of things.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's so many things in this world where we're told, no, if you want to do this thing, you have to do it this way and follow this procedure. Otherwise, it's just not valid, or you're not going to be allowed to do it, or whatever.
Yeah. I don't like following rules. I like make my own rules. I'm making my own rules with tap dancing right now.
Well, part of something we're doing is on our website is making an event page and like resource pages also, where all of our guests, we're putting their stuff and what they talk about in the different resources or different videos they put out or whatever onto our page, so they have resources to go look for. So we'll have to add that.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. I mean, having a place to have all these different resources is amazing. It's amazing, and it's very helpful. Instead of trying to search here, search there, and just having it in one place is so much nicer. Yeah. So that's great.
I can't tell you how frustrating and time-consuming it is to have to, because the world is not set up to find what you need to survive,
right? Or
for entertainment, even.
Right.
No, and if you do find it, it's impossible to explain what you need and stuff. You have to talk to someone in person, and then even still, it's miscommunicated and they misunderstand it.
Right.
And so, so just my thought of always having it all accessible, to be able to just click and find it right then.
Exactly.
It's like the rest of the humanity.
Exactly. Exactly. Just make it easy.
Yeah.
Make it accessible and make it easy to find. That's the two key things, especially nowadays.
Right.
I mean, maybe that was part of the issue back, when I was growing up, because obviously we didn't even have cell phones or computers or anything. Boy, am I dating myself. Yeah, I'm old. I know. But, there was nowhere to find any of that. And so you think back with dancers with disabilities, how are they going to find dance studios that would accommodate them? Like, it didn't exist. It didn't exist. So the new age.
Yeah, just like that, right? Like you're talking about, for me to find, because I've done a lot of research, just trying to figure out, because I would have people come to me and ask me, well, I'm going to do this, but where can I find it? And I would go researching to find it was so difficult to find a place, and then I would try to get actual reviews of, disabled people
Right,
and
right,
their experience with it, because
right,
a lot of times companies can put that they're inclusive and all this stuff, but oftentimes you really need to talk to someone to get
right,
their and
right. Yeah, I mean, some of I interviewed 4 professional integrated dancers for the book, Tap Dance for all different disabilities and reasons for disabilities. Some born with it, some sudden, some on gradual and all that. And they're all in professional dancers and performing. And that would be like Lindy Danley once said that, yes, she had called the place ahead of time and said, are you accessible? And yes, 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 yes. And they would say yes because they were afraid of the ADA coming in and slapping them with a fine. And she would say, so when you say accessible, let's talk about that. Does that mean I'm coming around through the garbage, ramp up the back and performing in theaters with a disability? I said, how was that? Because she, like Mary Verdi Fletcher from Cleveland, would perform all over the world. And of course, the ADA isn't over in Prague or wherever country that she was performing in. And they definitely had to make choices on accessibility and getting out there and performing and not being able to get their chair up the steps onto the stage, that kind of a thing. So the dance world, they do not make it easy performing wise, for sure, because it's got so far to go making things accessible.
And also a lot of places in the world. I mean, you're in California, you said?
Yep.
Okay. A lot of places though, are arguably, like, it's hard to even get to those studios.
Right.
It starts with being able to get to places and having a transportation.
Right.
And without the headache, it should be a basic, right, regardless of what you need to get around,
Exactly.
if that's not solved too, it's awesome, that people are making spaces for when they get there to do it. But the people higher up have got to be engaged enough and on an understanding, empathetic level where they understand that to have people be able to be themselves and make better workers, if you will.
Right.
They gotta be able to let go sometimes and dance or sing or whatever they want to do.
Right. I mean, I think back to the theaters that I performed in, and like San Francisco, the Golden Gate Theater, which was our next stop from LA. And I had to go 4 flights up to my dressing room. I mean, and I think about all the theaters, the New York theaters, we're not going to see performers, dancers, actors with disabilities in these shows because they can't even get in the theater to perform. Something to think about, in their old buildings. So that's a hurdle we got to get over, because we're not going to see a change in that until they can actually get in the theater.
And then there's a certain segment of people who don't want to see those old buildings remodeled and revamped because they're old, they're historical, and they need to be cherished and whatever. And God forbid you should install a ramp or something else.
Right. It's a dual-edged sword. That's for sure that you've got to deal with on both sides. So I don't know what the answer is to that, but that's a bigger one than I can answer right now. I'm just I got to focus on just the dance community here, but it's an issue for sure. I mean, you think Ali Stokes, who won, a Tony for her role, she was one of she broke ground on that, being the first actor, singer with a disability, winning a Tony. That was amazing. But it's like that theater made accommodations, clearly. So it can be done. You just have to want to be able, you need to want to do it and put the effort in. So
Yeah.
we'll see where that goes.
I was wondering about one thing. It seems like obviously we made a lot of progress as a whole in a lot of ways, but I don't know what it was. Like if you go back to the 20s, you mentioned a guy that Peg Leg Bates, I think it was. He was around and doing his thing, and I think the president around that time was like Roosevelt, right? Or who was the one with in the wheelchair?
Oh,
That was
yeah.
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt?
Yeah.
That was around 1920s, wasn't it? Or around there?
32,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been in his heyday.
Right.
Heyday, performance heyday, yeah.
But progress, and those people were sort of around and weren't, I don't know, my impression is they weren't really as kept down as we are today in a lot of ways.
Well,
right? They were allowed to get out there and do their thing, and I'm not so naive to think they weren't persecuted at all, because they probably were.
Absolutely. But at the time, if you were a tap dancer, if you were African American and a tap dancer, you got into places that other African Americans who were not tap dancers got into.
Right.
I mean, did they still have the rate? So he had the racial thing on top of the disability thing. But being a tap dancer back then, the 30s, the 40s, it put you on a different level if you were African American. It really did. It was like you were more upper class, for sure.
Right.
So yeah, it was an interesting time, that's for sure. But his attitude was, because I read an interview on him, and he just was like, I thought it was great when that accident happened. Wait a minute, I should probably explain why I'm saying that. I was like, it was cute. So, but I've spoken to people who have taken from him back in the day, and they just raved about him and how sweet and kind and generous and so talented.
Yeah. I'm excited to go look him up and watch this stuff.
He does this thing where a bell is like, if you're standing on one foot and the other foot is up here, and you hop and you hit your heels together and land. He would do a double one of those with the peg leg up here. I was like, how are you doing? So he brought a lot of athleticism to his dancing. I know it caused him a lot of pain, because I've read other interviews that he would go, after he'd perform, he'd go backstage and whatever, and he would just be crying in pain. But he loved it so much, he wasn't going to give it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a good one. Go check him out. I mean, 22 times on Ed Sullivan, you had to be good. Why would he be asking you back 22 times?
Yeah.
So,
anything else, Mark?
Yeah, so Victoria, just cover with us again where people can find you and how they can get in touch with you to find out more about the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is on, like I said, my website, www.victoriamoretap.com. And under the tabs at the top, you just click the tab, and whether it's the book, the online courses, merchandise, whatever, easily really easy website to navigate around. And if you need to reach out to me, just info@victoriamortap.com. Everything's Victoria Mortap, so it's easy to remember.
Yeah,
Try to make it easy.
yeah.
And where can people get the book?
You can get it online. It was also published on McFarland Publishing, and you can get it through that website too. And it's on Amazon. It wasn't on Amazon. I haven't checked Amazon for a while, but it used to be on Amazon. Don't know if it's still there.
Try to stay away from him.
I know. I do too. It just landed there. I noticed like a bunch of people were buying it and reselling it. I'm like, what is happening here? For like twice as much as they price. I'm like, what are you all doing? You probably don't even like tap dancing. Why are you buying my book? So Amazon's a little crazy, but yeah. So either you can get it right through my website, or it'll take you right to McFarland to get it. So
Great.
easy, made it easy. We like easy.
Thank you, Victoria, for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really am honored to
Thank you so much.
and speak with you two and get to speak to your viewers and your listeners.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And again, just the work you're doing and helping people feel like they belong somewhere. Not only that, but showing them purpose, giving them a way to be something,
And just experience, try it out. Maybe it's something you'll love, maybe it's not for you, but at least you have the option now to try it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that, especially, in the beginning and now over time too, you can feel like you've lost your purpose or you don't have purpose anymore, and you just have to be kind of shown those things.
Exactly. And feel that excitement again. It's all about feeding your soul and doing your mind, body, and soul good. And if it's tap dancing, here you go. Have at it. Have fun. The more tappers, the tap dance world is a very inclusive world. It really is. But now we just need to make the dance form inclusive. And then it's like once you're in, tap dancers love each other. It's a wonderful community. So go try it. Go try it.
Oh, thank you again. We appreciate taking time to speak with us and our audience. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.